very fun. I'll see you in an analytical video. Homo sapiens, or humans, appeared on Earth 300 millennia ago. That's equivalent to only 0.007% of the Earth's age. And it's very proud when we only spend so much time to crawl to the top of the food chain, domination every known form of life in the universe, and turn an object 12,742 kilometers in diameter. It becomes our home. And in the process, people have created a lot. Adjustment for your home. We're leveling mountains, filling seas, digging canals and rivers, forest felling, reservoir building house, the construction of cities and polluting many parts of the country and the air, creating countless new species. It also ended the evolution of many other species. It doesn't just touch the surface. We're drilling into the ground, building delivery systems underground at depths from a few 10 up to 100 meters. The exploitation of resources at a depth of kilometers. In the opposite direction, we're releasing into the atmosphere to penetrate the ozone layer at an altitude of 154 to 10 kilometers. Launch the satellite into orbit at a distance of more than 42,000 kilometers to the planet's surface, or taking the probe beyond the borders of the solar system. This is to show that the existence of the civilization, it's made a very clear impact on the Earth. We can leave a legacy. The characteristic traces that any creature that ever existed before us, it can be done. Have you ever wondered about the traces? The evidence about the existence of humans on Earth? How long can it last? Whether or not our species is extinct? In today's video, I will go with you to find the answer. Welcome to Search, the last legacy of human civilization. First, we have to talk a little bit about the disappearance of humans. There's a lot of ways to get people off the planet. A VA collided with Mother in an asteroid, a full-scale nuclear war, or a virus of alien origin are things that, in theory, it could wipe out our species. However, a VA collided with an asteroid, or a nuclear war can be handy. Erases most of the vestiges of civilization, humanity that we're trying to preserve. So let's agree that the disappearance of man, it will happen quickly. And magic is like Thanos' snap. The version that doesn't leave an AI, or like what happened in the movie, the world has no escape. Alice in Wonderland. The goal is to structure the world intact. It's just that there's no more human form. Actually, I still need a cameraman to give you the most realistic angles. Let's proceed. The first moment after nearly 8 billion people evaporated, about 1,000 planes at 10 kilometers, will instantly become 1,000 winged bombs. Most commercial aircraft is switched to automatic driving mode right after takeoff. They'll only fall after they've run out of fuel. The good news is that there won't be any damage. Your father has held you for a long time, under the ground and under the water. It's just as interesting. Car, motorcycle train, boats and submarines lost. The driver who stabbed each other was a bit of a geek. Brought out a little. Most types of machines, the device is under human control, will quickly stop working. Few are able to operate on their own. Will quickly encounter an incident that causes a fire and explosion, especially in refineries and petrochemicals. The weapons factories? Explosives or flammable chemicals. Power plants that use fossil fuels like coal, rock or natural gas will quickly stop working due to lack of fuel. Wind power plants, solar power, nuclear power, and especially hydropower. Under ideal conditions, it can run itself from a few weeks to a few years without any human intervention. However, the introduction of machinery, it's causing a lack of load on the global grid. It means that electricity is produced but not consumed. And I don't know where to go. Missing load. That's why most power plants stop working. Very quickly, night on Earth in the post-Homo sapiens. Dark as money. The good news is that most of today's nuclear power plants, they all have mechanisms. Allow them to turn themselves off safely in school. Missing load. Even if something goes wrong, causing the fuel rods in the reactor to melt, solid structures made from reinforced steel, concrete, or lead surrounding the reactor will prevent steam and radioactive air spills into the environment. It is also stopping work. The Earth has become a Chernobyl, full-size version. Lack of electricity. All works depend on electricity, and the electrical equipment to operate will operate. The subway tunnels will quickly become an aquarium. Lack of people, Emperor Sen, and other types of pets will experience a harsh survival mode in an environment that they're never ready to face, except for the Tibetan clams, pit bull, or Rottweiler. In the process, small, fragile species, the wild will become extinct. A few days since the humans disappeared, meat, fish, and vegetables and fresh foods start to drop in between, fattening populations of flies, mosquitoes, cockroaches, mice. A few months after humans disappeared, the environment is becoming cleaner. Some wild animals wear down the mountain, transporting to the city. 15 months after humans disappeared, the International Space Station fell to Earth. The International Space Station orbits the Earth over at high 400 altitude. Kilometers of atmospheric pressure is extremely low. Still creates a certain resistance. Lower the altitude of the space station. This process is called the sharing of honor. A few years after humans disappeared, the strong growth of trees, it makes cities look greener. The building works started to degrade due to not being maintained. 15 years after humans disappeared, satellites in low Earth orbit, climbing at an altitude of less than 2,000 kilometers, a strong orbital separation, and it starts to fall. Most of them will burn completely in gas. The Earth book. A little higher, the satellites can continue orbiting the Earth for thousands of years or even millions of years if they're on the upper level of mid-Earth orbit. Cats and high Earth orbit pigs, up to 42.164 kilometers maximum. Here's the air pressure. Too low to stop the movement of the satellites, so the regularity of the Earth's gravitational field, along with the disturbances that result from gravitational interactions between the Earth and the trillions, to some point, will cause the orbits of these satellites to break apart. It sounds like artificial satellites are the oldest product of human civilization. Remember to see back to the ground. A century after humans disappeared, the bare sky buildings began to collapse. The cities are almost covered in blue. Small and lower houses, less exposed to the effects of wind and earthquakes, will stay longer. It's a little moist though. Rainwater and the uncontrolled growth of vegetation, especially Leo wire species that will corrode the reinforcement, weakening the bearing beam mast system. They collapse after a few hundred years. In the polar regions, deserts, and dry areas, buildings in particular and construction works in general, they can survive longer. A few thousand years later, the only artificial structures, it still retains its shape intact, are buildings made of stone, with the most representative being the pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Skins, or the Curly Pyramid, it was built about 4,600 years ago, with an initial height of about 146.6 meters. Current height, 138.5 meters. It's the world's tallest man-made structure for more than 3,800 years until it was erased by the Holy Spirit Church, 160 meters high in 1311. It's made up of 2 or 3 million monolithic rocks, with a total weight of about 6 million t. It's mostly limestone. It's no exaggeration to say that the Great Pyramid is a mini limestone mountain. It's been weathered or destroyed by the weather at an average rate of 1.5 millimeters per millennium. That's how we calculate time. To flatten the pharaoh's tomb falls to about 90.0005 with the passing of the ghetto of the Great Pyramid. Most traces of existence of what's called human civilization, from the construction of cities and metropolises, types of vehicles and machinery, the technology products, up to the types of substances that humans use to emit, environment, after 1 to a few hundred million years will be buried, transformed, and became something that the Polish geologist John Zalasiewicz called the technology fossil, technofossils. In addition, space exploration ships like Drawing for 1 and 2, if you're not so black as to hit something and it's broken. The footprints that astronauts left on the moon, if it's not being bombarded by micrometeors, it can also exist for hundreds of millions of years. It's the ultimate legacy of humanity. It's not what's just been analyzed or listed above. It's not most of the things you can think of. Instead, they're technological marvels that you usually don't have the conditions and the opportunity to see, or simply can't be seen with the naked eye. That's millions of tunnels, deep drilling holes and mines that we've left behind on the Earth's crust for hundreds of years. According to estimates, the length of all drilling holes on Earth is approximately the shortest distance from Earth to Mars. About 54 miles, 6 million kilometers, equivalent to 7 meters bore, for every person on Earth at the present time, based on use of caves where prehistoric creatures excavated to determine the starting point of the Camry. 500 million years ago today, Jan Zalakek 4 teeth, the deepest drilling holes, like Kola's super deep bore, up to 12.2 kilometers deep, or Z4 for Trevo, the world's longest oil well, with 12,376 meters, can last forever. With the Earth for billions of years, it's going to be an interesting discovery. For ancient houses, biology in the future, about an advanced civilization that once existed, long before they. Give it a like, hit that bell, and share it with someone who stares at the moon a little too often. This is Hecky Fish. See you next time for more silliness science and seriously strange questions.